So recently, my boys have approached me about wanting to build some toy guns to use in their little homeschool outdoor group that they go to every week. They've been building forts with a bunch of their friends and just doing, kid stuff out in the woods. And, as a result, they've started to form governments, and governments need militaries. And so now they're approaching me about building some toy guns. And I got to say, that put a big smile on my face because one of the questions that I've been asking myself lately is how do I teach my boys woodworking, in a way that they'll actually enjoy, and whether or not any of them choose woodworking as a career in their future, it's up to them, but I want them to at least have some of these skills. I've spent a long time becoming a woodworker, and I think it's my responsibility as a father to at least teach my sons how to be competent with tools, and so this was the perfect opportunity.
Do a full turn. So turn that one full turn.
When approaching a project with your kids, the key is you just got to keep it fun. So making a toy gun is obviously going to keep their interest peaked throughout the whole project. And it really doesn't require a lot of, fancy planning or measurements or anything like that. You're pretty much just working from feel the whole time. So this is a great project to just kind
Press the
of
start button.
express creativity with your
Okay.
kid and model
Push
that
it,
with
maybe.
them. Also, making a toy gun is a great project because it doesn't require a lot of sophisticated tools, mostly just hand tools like a drill, sander, and a bandsaw. This was actually the first time my son got to use the bandsaw. I think he did a great job. He's very good with his hands, and I think as he was using the bandsaw here, his eyes were quite wide because he was just kind of seeing all the potentials, right? Once you experience, the power of using power tools to cut and manipulate wood, it's really empowering. So I was excited as a father to kind of coach my son through the process, and he did a great job. In order to build the gun, we had to run to the hardware store and pick up a couple of dowels. And it was funny because when I was in the store and I grabbed the dowels, I kind of had this like flashback memory moment to my own childhood. And the memory was actually about how I had come across some closet dowel cutoffs. My dad was a contractor, so there was always piles of materials and stuff around our house. And I had found these two dowels that, as a kid, when you pick up a dowel, it's immediately some sort of a gun barrel or a bow staff or a pair of nunchucks or something like that. And I used some nails and a hammer, and I nailed these two little short dowels together to make it look like a pump shotgun barrels, right? Two barrels stacked on top of each other. And I ran around the woods, and I was, playing make-believe. And I remember my dad at the time was working on a little cabin on their property. And so I said, Dad, can you make me a stock for this so it looks more like a real gun, not just, two sticks nailed together? And so he had some scrap plywood, and I remember him kind of cutting it out with a jigsaw and screwing this little plywood stock onto the gun. And it looked pretty rickety, but to a little kid, it was enough, right? My imagination could do the rest. And I just spent hours and days, running through the woods with my little wooden shotgun. And so having that memory come back to me as I was building this one with my sons was just a really kind of nostalgic, fun memory to recall. And it really inspired me to kind of take this little shotgun build to the next level with him. So, I pulled out as many of my little tools as possible. I got my little 1-inch by 24-inch belt sander, which did a great job for, getting into little nooks and crannies and smoothing things out and helping me shape the stock here. And the best part about it is, when you're building a gun, your kid's interest is going to stay peaked the whole time, right? Especially as he sees it take shape. So as this project was progressing, my son Carver was just getting more and more excited for it, and wanted to be involved in any way he could. And you could see he just can't keep his hands off of the gun as we were building it. He was just, in dreamland. Now, thankfully, I, in the past, had built a few little toy guns for my nephews when they were really young, before my boys were around, and so I had a bit of an idea of how to go about this because I'd made a little shotgun before, and so I just wanted to take this to the next level. And some of you dads out there are probably wondering, well, my kids are just into video games and all they care about is video games. And I get it. My sons are very much that way too. They love playing video games. And so you're wondering, like, how do I get them into something else? How do I, um, kind of get them back into their imagination and living in their own little worlds like a lot of us, millennial kids did growing up. And I would say the only advice I can give you is you got to introduce your children to classical cinema. The likes of the Rambo series, Terminator 2, Jean Claude Van Damme movies. All the real uh, classic masculine movies from our childhood. I had so many fond memories of, I think my first rated R movie, I couldn't have been much more than 9 or 10 years old, I think, was Terminator 2. And it left an impact on me, let me tell you. And so it's been super fun just over the last, year or so, going through all these classic movies. My favorite Christmas movie, Die Hard. We just watched that the other day. And as a result, my sons have kind of caught the bug. The action hero, guns are awesome. Hey, Dad, can we build a minigun? Has been, some of the things floated around our household. And as a father who grew up in, late 80s, early 90s, that, I'm telling you, that just warms my heart. Hey, Dad, can we build a minigun? Now, if you didn't grow up in, the 90s, like myself, and maybe you're a little bit more in the progressive mindset, why guns? Guns are bad. Guns are violent. Uh,
Nice and tight.
I totally understand, people's take on not wanting guns around. Guns have done a lot of harm, or I would say people have done a lot of harm with guns. But here where I live on Vancouver Island, I'd say about 40 to 50% of the people I know use guns to hunt on a regular basis. They they have small farms and raise animals that, need to be killed and butchered in order to put meat in the freezer, that sort of stuff. So guns are very much just a useful tool in my lifestyle. Whereas I'm sure people that live in the inner city do not understand the utility of guns the same way people that kind of live out in the country do. So the quote that I kind of live by, so that I, don't become too obsessed with guns myself, and kind of understand that, they're just a practical tool. And it's a quote by Bruce Lee, I believe, who said, "It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war." So that's kind of just my approach to things. I would much rather be competent and know how to use a gun if I ever did need to, for self-defense against an animal in the wild, or God forbid somebody, entered into my home and wanted to do harm to my family. I would have the means and the skills to defend myself. But other than that, for me, the primary role of firearms in my life is hunting and getting meat for my family so that we can eat clean red meat, deer mainly. And so I want to make sure that my sons, as well as myself, remain competent in handling firearms safely. And so a way to do that is to create toys with your sons so that they become familiar with holding guns, how they understand the actions of the guns, how they function properly, so that as they get older and I introduce them to real firearms, they will be familiar with them and have more confidence, and therefore grow in their competence faster. Hunting and sports shooting, target shooting, that sort of stuff at the range is also a great way to just have more activities to get you outside and get you out connecting with nature. Whereas in this modern age, most activities are kind of technology related. So I like to have some old fashioned, I guess you could say, activities. So having a number of different firearms in our gun safe um, piques the boys' interests, and I'm able to take them out to the gun range. We set up targets and shoot, and have little friendly competitions amongst ourselves, and it's just a great way to make memories with my boys that aren't related to iPads and Minecraft and all these video games. But ultimately, I believe the most value in this project comes from obviously just spending quality time with your kids. I got to spend, a better part of probably a couple of days working with my boys, building these guns for them, and learning how to be kind of to creatively problem solve. As you can see here, I had to kind of take apart one of my boys' broken little Nerf guns and hijack a couple springs out of it in order to create like a little spring mechanism for the trigger here. I had some scrap aluminum around the shop, so I just cut a few slices off with the angle grinder and fashioned a little trigger, as well as a trigger guard. And all of these things my boys got to witness and watch me do them in real time. And as any of you know, especially men out there, can't really speak for the women, is that when you observe somebody, especially a family member, especially a parent, there's very little difference that
Yeah, we're talking.
children don't really see any difference between you and them because you're their parent. They've known you their whole life. What they see you do, they kind of inherently believe, especially as they grow up and mature, they believe they can do it as well. I remember watching my dad, build things throughout my whole life and do renovations and work with my dad on and off as a young kid. And I always remember thinking like, well, if my dad can do it, I can do it because I'm his son. So I think that one of the most beneficial things you can do for your kids is just model life, model problem solving, you know, fixing things as you go.
Now, some of you watching this might be thinking, really, did you really need to make a spring-loaded trigger? It's a wood toy gun. But you know that when you go back to your inner boy, that boy playing in the woods as a kid, having a functional trigger made for so much more satisfaction with those imaginary kills. Okay, you went to pull the trigger and there was nothing there. It's not even close to the same effect of sound effect. Saracana! That's what I'm talking about.
So I'm confident that my boys, having kind of stood beside me and been involved with these projects, that has planted seeds that will eventually grow into confidence and competence as they become young men and learn how to just do things for themselves, go out there, get that cheddar, you know?
What punk action shotgun is complete without a shell holder?
And honestly, I can't really tell you who enjoyed this project more. Both me and my son were actually having a lot of fun building this. So, regardless of whether or not he has memory of this when he's older, I'm sure I definitely will, because this was probably one of the funnest projects I did in a while. It was just, the feeling, don't you guys? Like when you just go out there and you get to kind of relive a childhood moment with your kids, whether it's, taking them for a motorbike ride or building something together or going camping for the first time. It's like those are the memories that stick with you in life. And so any opportunity I get to make a memory like that, a core memory that will hopefully stick with my boys and will definitely stick with me, that's what I'm all about. And I can honestly say that planting small seeds like this will pay dividends, because just recently my son Carver has saved up all his own money, and we went to Cabela's and he bought himself a whole camo gear setup. And we've been going to a little archery group every week, and he's been shooting his compound bow and putting together some really nice groupings. So it's just a matter of time before we're out there hunting together and putting meat in the freezer, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, I don't want to go too deep. That'll just make the end fragile. Somebody will bash it and break it, but that's enough to make it look real, right? Spray paint that black. Looks like a 12 gauge. All right, so that turned out pretty sweet. My son doesn't know that I like added these little extra features like the shell carrier and, you know, carve the texture on here and finish the sights and everything like that. So I'm gonna set up my camera when he gets home from school here in a minute and do a little reveal just to kind of see his reaction to the little features that I added to it. I think he's gonna be pretty stoked. Stand here, wait.
No picking, no picking, no picking, no picking.
All right, take a look, buddy. What do you think?
Whoa! This is awesome.
A little shell carrier on there for you.
I love this. Can I try?
The shells don't come out. They're just glued on, okay?
Is it easy to do
Got the spring-loaded
Kinda.
trigger.
Yes.
Looks pretty legit, don't it? Trigger works great and everything.
I love this.
Ready for tomorrow?
Thank you, Daddy.
Think we should paint it up for show and tell tomorrow, or you want to leave it like that?
I think I'll leave it for this for now.
It's pretty cool, eh?
Yeah.
Carver, take it away. Sit down, Walty.
This is my
What?
pump shotgun
What?
me and my dad made.
Another shotgun.
No, this is a rifle. This is a shotgun.
That is incredible.
You make so many guns. Wait, does she shoot the bullets? Does she
Show
shoot
him
the
how
bullets?
it works, buddy.
Climax of this whole project was obviously being able to go to my son's little outdoor school here that he does with all the other local homeschool kids and watch him, you know, do a little show and tell with his shotgun, and everybody, you know, obviously loved it and thought it was pretty cool. And just to see the excitement on his face and just the pride that he had knowing that he helped make it with me, it was just a precious moment, as you guys can clearly see. So for any of you dads out there, you know, I know we're always looking to the future and we're worrying about, you know, our family's safety and provision and all that sort of stuff. But the things that our children are going to remember most is just the moments that we made precious memories with them. So whatever that looks like for you guys, get out there in your wood shops or get out there in the woods, do whatever lights you and your kids up, guys. That's what this life is all about. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and we will see you in the next video. Until then, Samurai out.